Live from the YouTuber studios, it is the Russia Renegade, and now here's your host, the YouTuber. Thank you and welcome everybody to the Russia Renegade. We had some technical difficulties doing this yesterday, which I want to thank Daniel again. Like I said, I've already done this before, but I want to do it again on here for letting me use his video from yesterday for F1. For the Russia Renegade in the co-hosting thing that we have done. So go ahead and check that video out. That's on his that'll be on his channel, but it's also saved in the Russia Renegade playlist as well. So there's that there. So let's get started with the thing. Let's get my announcements out of the way and done so that we can focus on sports scores, news, notes, and all that. Coming up on my channel, we have some more NCAA tournament for the lacrosse 16-team tournament. Today's matchups, I will read them off as follows. As soon as I can pull it up. But also, besides that, we have more MLB The Show coming to it. Madden. NCAA football, and much more coming in as well from the 360 original response and the PS4 side of things as well. So we have all three systems making making videos for each three systems: original response, 360, and the PS4. So it's going to be a whole lot of fun there. So if my bracket will pull up that I made on my bracket maker. And okay, why is my iPad is acting up. I don't know why it's doing that. All right, we'll go back to the oh, where? No, I don't want to try again with that game that you made me do. Oh. Let me close that app and out and no, that's not one. Let's try this again. There we go. Okay, well, I'm gonna let's see here, read off the games right here. Alright, Notre Dame, Penn State, and Penn and Army are the games for today. They'll be live right on my Twitch account, and then from here right over here to my YouTube account. So they'll be on Twitch first, then on YouTube second. So now the way the rest of the tournament works, only one game was directly on the YouTube, and that was Yale, Virginia. That was a tape game. The rest of them are going to be live on Twitch and then exported and published on YouTube from Twitch. So right here on this channel. So that's that for that. Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. You're listening to the Russia Renegade right here on my YouTube channel. And we're back here to the Russia Renegade. Thank you for letting me do my announcements. Let's get into the show here. Before I do, I'm going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be back. You're listening to the Russia Renegade. Alright, I'm back here. Let's resume with our show. Alright, so let's... Nope, that is not what I wanted. Alright, let's start off with something a little different that we have not done before. This is from the ESPN app. All my stuff I'm going to get for as far as sports, news, notes, and scores are concerned for the Russia Renegade will be from the ESPN app. So... we're going to do the top 25 historical facts for each college football teams. It may be strange, but it's true. Alright, we start off with number 1, Clemson. Could you imagine, say, Kirk Herbstreit, let me back that up. Could you imagine, say, Kirby Smart being the referee for Clemson South Carolina game, because on October 30th, 1902, the only referee for the Clemson South Carolina game was Furman coach Colonel Charles S. Roller Jr. Clemson had beaten Furman 28-0 the week before. Bronco Armstrong, a Yale player and an official, was going to pay the umpire, but he was in a railroad accident on his way to the game. South Carolina won 12-6 its victory over Clemson and put a bout to everything. A riot between fans of the two schools broke out at the night after the game because South Carolina students were parading a poster of Gamecock standing over a tire holding its tail. Clemson and South Carolina wouldn't play again until 1909, and the next memorable brawl wouldn't happen until 2004. Also, more than 100 years later, in 2018, Furman's backup quarterback against Clemson was actually a Clemson student, Harris Roberts. Number 2, Ohio State. And I'm reading this just straight from the ESPN app, just to let you all know. There might have been some disappointed students in Columbus, Ohio in 1926 when Maudine Ormsby won Homecoming Queen. It's not because they didn't like Ormsby, it's because she was I'm not going to say the word, but number 3, Alabama. You have to just look on the ESPN app yourself to see the whole thing. Number 3, Alabama. The prestigious Alabama football program, today got off to a good start thanks to a former horse racing journalist from Cleveland named C. Scott. He was the Crimson Tide's coach from 1919 to 1922 and had a 29-9-3 record while at Alabama, including a signature victory over Penn in his final season that put the program on the map. Prior to this, at Alabama, Scott spent time at Case Western Reserve, which is a Division III school in Cleveland. It also sounds like a name of a bank. Yeah, it really does sound like a name of a bank, in my opinion. Number 4, Georgia. The Bulldogs nickname isn't uncommon. You probably had high school in the area where you grew up that had this nickname, and can name plenty of college teams with it as well. Yes, I can. Other college teams with the nickname Bulldogs: Mississippi State is one of them. Yale, another one, and many more. But the way Georgia took its name is uncommon. The university's first president, Abraham Baldwin, was a Yale grad. I just mentioned Yale just a while ago. You would think that might have been an inspiration many do, but it wasn't. The name was from a work of Atlanta Constitution, of the Atlanta Constitution. A couple of writers, Morgan Blank, who wrote on November 3rd, 1920, that the Georgia Bulldogs would sound good. 3 days later, after a 0-0 tie with Virginia, Cliff Whitley used Bulldogs in the story 5 times. It stuck. Somewhere down the line, we got Dogs, which is great. Alright, moving on to number 5, Penn State. There is a dispute about when the Nittany Lions played their first football game. The answer depends on whom you asked. It is widely held that the first one came in 1879, when they beat Lewisburg 54-0. However, in 1881, 13 Penn State students played in an informal game against Bucknell at Bucknell, winning 9-0. The game isn't regarded by many as the first because it was played under rules that were closer to rugby than modern football rules, like the game played in 1887. But if we were being honest, football in either of those 2 years isn't close to anything being played today, so the claim for 1881 may be valid. At number 6, Oregon. The Ducks started their football program playing at Hayward Field in 1919 and moved to their current home, Autzen Stadium, in 1967. The Duck Stadium took 9 months to build after breaking ground and cost $2.3 million. A 250,000 chunk of that was donated by the Autzen Foundation and the Thomas E. Autzen, who graduated from Oregon in 1943. However, the stadium is named after Autzen's father, Thomas J. Autzen, who was an alumnus of Oregon State. Interesting. There. The Ducks are 19-7-1 against the Beavers in Autzen. There is no curse or anything to be concerned about there. At number 7, Florida. In 1912, the Florida was in Havana, Cuba, playing 2-game series that included games against Vendado Tennis Club and then against the Cuban Athletic Club of Havana. A setup now known as the Bacardia Bowl. The Gators won the first game, which took place on Christmas Day. The second game on December 28th, and was much more contentious than the first. Florida coach George E. Pyle allegedly spent most of the first quarter arguing with the officials over holding penalties and the officials' failure to fully enforce penalties against the Cuban Athletic Club. Pyle eventually refused to continue after he learned that the referees were a former coach of the Cuban Athletic Club. As a result, the Cuban authorities arrested Pyle at the game and forbidding the suspension of the game, for which gate money was charged. A judge ordered Pyle to take his team out of town before he put them all in jail. There wouldn't be another game featuring an American team playing an exhibition in Havana until 1921, when the Cuban Athletic Club won 12-0 over Ole Miss. At number 8, LSU. Today we all know let me start over. Today we all know that LSU's Death Valley, that's what they call that, their stadium, as one of the loudest stadiums in college football. It wasn't an easy beginning. Through the stadium's creation was impossible without the building of dormitories for students. Former Louisiana Governor Huey P. Long wanted a funded stadium for LSU, but was not going to be able to get the funds from their state. However, he saw that there was enough for dorms and had them built as part of the stadium to provide cover for an eventual expansion program. The east side was complete in 1932 and the west in 1935. In 1937, the stadium was finished. With the completion of the north side, the stadium dorms served as barracks for the ROTC students until 1969. The dormitories were closed during the late 1980s, and probably for the best. It's hard to imagine getting anything done at the dorm, and particularly in that particular location. Of course, anybody in Baton Rouge would probably be at the game anyway. Again, all these are coming from the ESPN app. We'll get to some sports scores. We'll get to sports scores. We have some more stats to go over. As far as this is concerned, whoops, I hit the wrong button. Do apologize for that. Alright. Moving on to number 9, Oklahoma. As it says from the ESPN app, John Hart, a student from Kansas, started the Oklahoma football program on September 1895. Oklahoma didn't receive statehood until 1907. There is not much to be said other than, well, it seems pretty wild that Oklahoma played football for 12 years before statehood. Number 10, Notre Dame. Notre Dame's leprechaun is one of the most recognizable symbols in all of college football, whether it is a logo or the live mascot at the games. While it is a staple now, Notre Dame took a took a second. A lot of animals to figure things out. Notre Dame's mascot in Notre Dame's infancy were a variety of animals, mostly dogs. The other animals are certainly noteworthy, as the South Bend Tribune noted in September 22nd, 1900. And that goes on in that thing, in that Tribune, South Bend Tribune, to say this Dan Maltone manager Igor Edgeman and Pat O'Day have passed. Whatever that means. This is from the ESPN app. I'm just reading this from the ESPN app. I'm just reading what it says on the ESPN app. So, if Notre Dame is unsuccessful on the gridiron this fall, it will not be due to a lack of mascots. If there is anything in the variety of mascots, Notre Dame will be successful. When trainer, okay, I see it. That I mentioned Maltone. Arrived his train was a menagerie made up of 2 trick donks and a canary bird. One of the donks, a hairless Mexican, I never heard of a hairless Mexican dog. I don't even know what they would look like, but anywho. Goes on to say, he intends to use as a hoodoo for opposing teams in conjunction with the black and white billy goat manager Edgeman received from Fort Wayne. The goat is of the stunt yard variety, with a record of having eaten 2 shirts and a pair of shoes in one morning. Oh my. He has already shown a bellicose disposition, but under the care of Moulton, who intends to train him, he may be taught to save his combativeness for the opposing team, not to be outdone by the trainer or manager, which is football coach. Pat O'Day intends to send Colorado to a friend of his who has a pet kangaroo. With his aggression of animals, the kangaroo hurling hedge fences, goat bucking the line, and the dongs doing tricks on the sidelines, Notre Dame should present a terrifying appearance to any antagonist. The dongs stood out as mascot, though was a terrier named Clashmore Mike, often referred to simply as Mike, in 1935, and became the official mascot. And Notre Dame officials really leaned into his status according to Notre Dame and had his own column in the football programs and bravely bound the Pitt Panther, Army Mule, and Navy Goat. Some weird stuff there. Hello to that if you're watching. If you're just tuning in, this is the top stuff that is weird but true about universities in college football. Number 11, Texas A&M. The phrase perfect season is usually bestowed upon a team that has gone undefeated and secured a national championship. A reasonable person wouldn't argue that 2019 LSU did not have a perfect season, but the Tigers steamrolled everybody that came across and did it in style. However, 1919 Texas A&M had a truly perfect season, going 10-0 while not also allowing a single point. The strange thing here is that the Aggies didn't claim this until 2012. They also acclaimed the 1927 national championship as well as a Big 12 titles in 1907 and 2010. So it goes on to say, don't get it twisted, though. I'm pretty sure 2019 LSU would stomp the 1919 A&M. Moving on to number 12, Oklahoma State. While we're talking national champions, let's discuss one of the Oklahoma States. The Cowboys were named the 1945 national champion in 2016. I remember that. I remember seeing that trophy, by the way, that they used. The American Football Coaches Association put together a committee of coaches to actively select schools who deserved the coaches trophy between 1922 and 1949. As a result, the Cowboys ended up a winner. Oklahoma State finished 9-0 in its 1945 season after winning the Sugar Bowl 33-13 over St. Mary's. Army finished the season as a Associated Press number 1 with a 9-0 record, and Alabama with a number 2 10-0 mark. The most interesting part is that technically Oklahoma State makes the first school to win a football and basketball national championship in the same year, prior to Oklahoma State being retroactively crowned football champs. Florida was the only school to do so back in 2006. With the right attitude, you can claim just about anything in college football. And number 13, Wisconsin. Some great players have passed through the Camp Randall Stadium. Ron Dwayne ran for 3,235 of his 7,125 rushing yards in that stadium. Most recently, there is Jonathan Taylor, who ran for 3,409 yards at Camp Randall. It goes on in this article on ESPN app to say, but before the stadium was built, the land Camp Randall sits on is a 53-acre property that was owned by Wisconsin State Agricultural Society and transformed into a training center for most of 91,000 Wisconsin troops who served in the Civil War. It also held 1,100 1,400 Confederate soldiers as prisoners. The military operations headquarters for the Union Army used to be where the luxury suites sit today. The football was first played at Camp Randall in 1895. The stadium was built in 1913. While the most of us recognize Camp Randall as a Wisconsin thing, it's a lot more. They also say that this is unrelated to this is let me try this again. This is not in the article, but I thought I shared this is from College Football Instant Football 14 when they talk about facts for Instant Football stadiums in the game. The visiting locker room for the stadium has been painted in a certain way that it looks like a prison, which that's interesting. Alright, now moving on to number 14. Auburn. Imagine you're minding your own business while a lake, the shoreline is lower because of a drought. As a result, you find your pair of pants okay, weird. Imagine you're minding your own business while I'm gonna read this again. Finding your pair of pants, whatever that means. I don't know what that means, but that's what it said. This is from the ESPN app. That's what happened to Shane Duffy in 2008 at Lake Martin, almost an hour from Auburn, Alabama. The green and blue Madras golf pants she found covered in mud as an alligator leather wallets in them with credit cards from the 1980s and Alabama's driver's license and an honorary Alabama State Trooper card, a Delta frequent flyer card, a Chevron government credit card that read the University of Auburn Athletics. The name on all the cards read Patrick Fane Dye. Dye told the magazine that he didn't remember how he lost him. It seems odd since you would think one would remember losing their entire pair of pants, wallet, and car keys. Dye would often auction off his pants later that year for charity. They went for a cool $8,000. At number 15, Michigan, one of Michigan's biggest rivals to this day is Notre Dame, and Wolverines have themselves to thank for, at least in a way. In 1984, Notre Dame sent Michigan a letter requesting Michigan to teach its students how to play football. In 1887, it finally happened that Michigan and Michigan won 8-0 in the Scholastic, the Notre Dame Students magazine. An article mentioned the following: on one account of time, On account of time, only a part of one inning. Okay then. I thought inning was had to do with baseball, but whatever. On account of time, only part of one inning was played to result in a score of 8-0 in favor of the visitors. The game was interesting, and notwithstanding the slippery conditions of the ground in Ann Arbor, the Ann Arbor boys gave the final expression of skillful play. This association starred a enthusiastic football boom, and it's hoped that the coming years will witness a series of these contests. There would be indeed a series of future contests. I think there was one last year. I don't know if it was in Notre Dame or in Michigan, but there was one last season. Number 16, Minnesota. Sometimes some very basic things have very basic solutions. The University of Minnesota was founded in 1851, and for the first 29 years of its existence used different colors at graduation ceremonies. It wasn't until University President William Watts Fowell asked English professor Augustus Smith to select colors for graduation ribbons that would also be used for other occasions. Smith chose maroon and gold, and they stuck, as the school says, without any kind of formal action. They were a fine choice. At number 17, Cincinnati. The Bearcats is a cool sounding mascot name. It's a real animal that is also known as a bintuong. If I'm saying that right, it is Binturong is how you spell it. But the team isn't named after the actual animal, rather its former players. Cincinnati beat Kentucky's 14-7 in 1914 thanks to the help of fullback Lard Teddy Bayard. It is said that during the game, the cheerleaders chanted, "They may be Wildcats, but we have a Bearcat on our side." Afterwards, the student newspapers went along with it, and that is how the Bearcat name came to be. But they changed the spelling because the way it was used for the cheerleader chant, it was B-A-E-H-R and then dash cat, and now it's spelled B, a bear like a grizzly bear, and cat as all one word, no dash there. At number 18, we have Iowa State. The students at Iowa State don't play when it comes to homecoming. 1953, when the Cyclones let me start over. I got tongue-tied there. Students at Iowa State don't play when it comes to homecoming. 1953, when the 1-3 Cyclones, who finished as 7-2-7, upset the 2-2 Missouri second place finishers in the Big 7 at 6-4, 13-6. Science students marched at the knoll where Iowa State's first family resided, demanding a holiday on Monday to celebrate the victory. School president James Hilton wasn't home at the time, but but the students persisted. When Hilton ultimately refused to grant their day off, students continued to riot on Sunday and Monday night. Things were so bad the Ames police used tear gas to get control of the situation. Some college football fans get tense when Clemson storms the field after every win. Just imagine how all of us would react to a similar win, a reaction today. Game. At number 19, Boise State. Could you imagine a team earning a berth in the college football playoff and not being able to play, and because it overlapped with a regular season game? The powers that would certainly never let such a thing happen, but something similar did in 1977. Its final season Division II game, the Big Sky journey to the Division I AA in 1978. The NCAA Division II playoffs were set to begin on November 26th. The same day, Boise State was scheduled to play Idaho. While it was a Big Sky game, Boise State had already clinched the division, having beaten Northern Arizona earlier in the season. Because they had other games on their schedule, Broncos were forced to play the Vandals in Moscow, Ohio, winning 44-14 in Northern Arizona, representing the Big Sky Division II tournament, and lost 35-0 at home at the hands of Jacksonville State. At number 20, Iowa. Can you imagine a world where there is seemingly harmless? Iowa would be expelled okay, let me start over. Can you imagine a world where seemingly harmless, and that's in quotations, seemingly harmless, Iowa would be expelled by the Big Ten because it happened on May 26, 1929. Iowa would be out of the Big Ten for just a year because of allegations that players had been compensated. The school had disqualified 27 players on December 11th, 1929, in hopes of being reinstated by its fellow Big Ten members. However, it wouldn't rejoin until February of 1930. Number 21, USC. Ohio State's band famously claims itself to be the best in the land, but USC has its own impressive accomplishments and accolades. Fleetwood Mac invited the Trojan Marching Band to perform Tusk on its 12th album in 1979, which became the Trojans' first platinum album. They earned a second when they appeared on the reunion album The Dance in 1997. No other college band has accomplished such feat. The record for claims of who has the best band are being made here. I'm simply stating facts. This is from the article. And I'm stating facts too, because I'm reading the article. At number 22, but before we move on to number 22, they were also performed on Dancing with the Stars. Alright. At number 22, North Carolina. In North Carolina's first season of football, the Tar Heels started their 4-game season 0-2 and decided to hire a new coach. The All-American Princeton tackle Hector Cohen, who was still in the middle of his playing career when was their pick. Cohen came from New Jersey to Chapel, overhauled the UNC offense, went 1-1 in the 2 games played in May of 1889, then returned to Princeton to play his national championship team. That same year, very casual. At number 23, Texas, there are plenty of notable college. There are plenty of notable oranges in college football, whether it is the Bowl, Syracuse, or Tennessee, but Texas burnt orange stands out because it is the unique shade and lack of availability due to World War II. Longhorn's burnt orange dye was produced in Germany and became unavailable for years during the war, so Texas switched to bright orange and didn't go back to burnt orange until 5 years later, after the arrival of legendary coach Darrell K. Royal in 1962. At the time, many Texas students and fans did not like switching back to the burnt orange. They complained about the dark Bundy and Mercury burnt orange, as requested a switch back to current light medium orange in 1966. Kind of almost like, I wouldn't say, kind of maybe like a Tennessee, maybe I was thinking it would be like more of a Tennessee orange. So they had brighter orange, kind of like Oklahoma State would be. The burnt orange, oh, more like Oklahoma State orange and maybe a Tennessee orange, and then back to the burnt orange. Thankfully, that switch didn't happen. Now, the only symbol Texas controversy we have goes back to the horns down. At number 24, Appalachian State. In 1942, editors James Story and Elizabeth Sound of the Rhododendron Appalachian State's yearbook found themselves one picture short of a balanced publication. They called upon freshmen Lloyd S. Isaacs and Bill Mitchell of the Observer Publishing for help. What they came up with a character, Danielle Boone Yosleth, from Appalachian. Was the original image of the mascot, now known as Yosef. Isn't certain, and according to App State accounts mentioned about the bookstore staff member generating a sketch, but the artist in Charlotte had also been credited with the creation of the Mountain Man. No matter who created the original image, Joseph was enough of a hit to remain as the school's mascot to this day. At number 25, Baylor. The Bears mascot could have been a lot less fierce. Nominees students voted on for their school's mascot included Buffalo, which is fine, but also the bookworm. Imagine saying touchdown bookworm. That wouldn't sound right. For over 50 years have been the live mascot for Baylor, but the first arrived in 1917. As let's see here, was won in a poker game. The bear layer named Big Herb was riding in a train carrying the 107th Engineers to the duty station in Waco, Texas. When the train stopped, the cub was found by soldiers in a bed by Herb E. Mayer, who kept the bear until it became too big to be a pet. Mayer donated the cub to Baylor and became the school's first live mascot. They have a guy in costume still, I think. I don't know if they have the live mascot still or not, but I know they had the guy in the costume. Baylor had to rename the bear because the name was a little too poo-poo. ESPN reporter Dave Wilson contributed to this story. That's what it says. Oops. And that was it. That's it. That's the top 25. We've been almost on the air, almost an hour long. Normally it's a 30-minute show, but we had a lot of fun bringing that story to you. This is from where I got that from was the ESPN app. It was under college football. It's the main home thing on the ESPN app. Larry Styles Jr.'s article. It's about a 9-minute read. So that is college the most strange but true historical facts for each top 25 team. So let's go on to some sports scores and notes before we wrap things up. Let's go to soccer. Let's do the Bundesliga. As we recap Tuesday's matchups, Dortmund lost to Bayern Munich 1-0. Leverkusen lost to Wolfsburg 4-1. Frankfurt and Freiburg tied at 3 in a draw there. And Bremen and Gladbach tied in a draw there. Let me go to the see if I can find the Bundesliga 2. Can't find it, but let's see here. Let's go to Top Soccer, see if it's there. Nope, I'm not finding it, but that's okay. Look up, you can type in Bundesliga 2 and find it. Oh, here it is. Here it is, I found it. Never mind. I found it. This was under Top Soccer. Okay, here we go. SSV Jan Breg and Nuremberg tied at 2 and draw there. Sonnenhus and SV Wien 1-0. Sandhausen won that one. Darmstadt and Egerberd 3-1. Darmstadt won there. And Osnabrück won over Griffin for 2-0. Also in the Costa Rican Premier Division. There was only one matchup yesterday. Cartagena 4 and Yakar 2 in the following there. There are 3 matches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 matches. 4 matchups involving Presica versus Halunsi and San Carlos and Santos and Universidad and Giordano and Saprissa and Limon. If I said those names right, if I didn't, I do apologize for that. As far as the NFL is concerned, let's look at some stuff. News. No word on whether they're going to start off on the right foot. Let's go to the NHL, because we have something that we need to talk about in the NHL. They would forget about the season and go to a 24-team playoff if the season returns. That said, I think some teams weren't for it, I think. Let's see here. I think that's about it I can think of, since we've already done an hour's worth. NCAA basketball, we don't know. Women's basketball, we don't know. NCAA football, we don't know really much on the NCAA sports. Other soccer, we don't know when it's going to return, or any other sports. We know that the Olympics won't return until 2021. So, for the Summer Games. So that'll do it for me. Until next time, until tomorrow, for the rest of our Renegade, this has been the YouTuber sign off. Until next time, keep on YouTube, everybody. Keep on YouTube, everybody, and we'll see you all next time. This has been the Rush Hour Renegade on the YouTuber channel.